Okay guys, here we are back at the swap project. As predicted, the snow plows broke here in New Hampshire until the snow stopped falling. Likely they're all still broken out there, but in the meantime I finally get a little bit of time to get back to the K24 swap Civic Si. So this is the K24 I got on the block here, the pallet. Got the intake off, and I gotta look at this hole that they talk about for the coolant port and this other one for the EGR port. Now, everybody says just go ahead, block that guy off, we'll tune it out later. I don't even know. I'm trying not to run a tuner on this. I want to see if it'll just run. Obviously, that's going to cause a check engine light. Maybe I can figure out something to do with the EGR nonsense later. Maybe you do have to tune it out. But like I mentioned before, we're trying to do this cheapest possible route. Also, in New Hampshire, you cannot have a check engine light on in your car to get a state inspection. They plug it in the machine. It knows if any, hokey funky stuff's going on. So probably gonna have to figure out the EGR thing, but that's, for another day. We know we can get it in, get it running. Let's do that, and then we'll deal with those problems later. So going along with that cheap route, these holes are round. Plugging that off, making a nipple there, not gonna be a big deal. It just reroutes to this hose here. Sorry, I probably should have got the camera in there. This is the gasket for the K20. I want to just assess it, and then of course it fits. Just sort of looking at everything. Pulled all the wiring harness from that motor. We also pulled the wiring harness and intake off of the K20 that's in the car. So the factory the K20 has this big weird coolant port that's not a circle. I'm really glad I'm not dealing with having to adapt anything to that, because that would be very hard. So this motor is basically ready to come out. I did a bunch of work off camera, sorry guys, but it's very, very simple. Pull the intake, pull the wiring, and it's just, follow what they obviously want you to do. Get the alternator out of there, get the AC pump out of there, the starter. I didn't even have to do all that in the car. I just sort of did because it's kind of like a shelf with this whole front thing, member removed. It's even easier than working, with the motor out of the car, because then it'd be on the ground and I'd be bent over. So the axles are disconnected. That's also very simple. Pull the ball joint. I pulled the brakes off because they're crap. We're gonna replace those also while it's here and in apart. I think we're even gonna do the wheel bearings, because those seem to be a little bit crunchy when I spin the hub. So it's in, it's apart. Why not do it right once? I know that's not really the cheap way to do it, but that's a safe way to do it. We want to try to get ahead of any problems this thing might have from driving down the road. So yeah, that's where that stands. I just literally need 10 minutes to pull the bolt out of there, and the 2 bolts out of there, and hook the cherry picker up to it, take it out. Meanwhile, some more regular service stuff came in. Jeep XJ Cherokee in really nice shape for a New England Jeep. This thing's like a 97, you guys. Look at those rocker panels. The owner takes very, very good care of it, meticulously maintained, and today the power steering pump took a crap. So I guess since I can't really get back to the EP3, I figured instead of not making any content at all, I would do the power steering pump in this XJ. It's also a pretty popular little truck, and it just happens to be what I'm doing. So watching you guys watch me. So anyways, now I'm the door. Power steering pump's here. Airbox and stuff's not really in the way, but I already started kind of taking this apart. Flop that hose over, take that cover off, rip that filter out. There's a couple nuts and bolts down there. And I always do. Get the penetrating oil on there, and while I got it out, I'll just sort of hose everything down behind here, as well as here. Now, most vehicles don't come with a belt routing anymore, so to figure out how the belt's routed, go ahead and draw yourself a map. There's my crude, very, very crude map, but I'll get the idea as to how it's going back together in the end. Even for Hondas, I still draw myself a map Just, you know, why make the mistake to second guess yourself later and go, gee, I know it goes this way, and then you just got something flipped. Just draw them out. So yeah, I'll get to cracking those bolts off and be right back with you. All right, guys, here we are. We got that air box out of the way, and you can see I got a lot more room to get my hand down in here and get on the lines. We're gonna change the pump and lines, fluid lines. In New England, there's almost never another way. However, this scenario, we probably could skip the lines, believe it or not. I'm not going to. We're going to change the lines. The owner wants this meticulously maintained. But everything seems to be coming apart real nice. Not a super lot of rust. Not like what I'm used to dealing with. This has a manual tensioner, and if you can look right here, that is the manual tensioner bolt, and it lines up almost perfectly straight, so you can get an extension on there and not have to use a swivel head socket. I use a swivel head socket because there's just a little bit, and yeah, it loosened right up. The belt, you just sort of pop off that very same thing, and then you can come up here and take it off the pump, and then we can access the bolts. Pump on out of there, through the hole. No, I'm sorry, there's not even holes to the pump. Bolts that way. Didn't even have to pull belt to access the bolts. However, obviously I have to pull belt to change the pump. That's fighting me one-handed, so I will be right back with you. So here we have it. Belt removed off the pulley. The fan I removed had a 1 bolt there, adjacent to the radiator cap, 1 there, both 8mm head bolts, and then 1 plug. And that opened up a big pocket of room. So now we have room to finally work on and see this thing. This style pump lines up with the bolts and the holes. That's sort of what I was talking about earlier, is you can get through these 2 holes on 3 bolts, keep lining it up, and you can get this pump slid out of this bracket that way and work on it on the bench, or you can choose to use the special pulley puller right here in the vehicle. I have one over here. This is the guy I use. It's a, you know, there you go, Performance Tools. Not anything very fancy. I think it was 30 bucks or something 5 years ago. So, probably 20 bucks 5 years ago. It comes with this, you know, little sort of press deal, because that's how this pulley is put on. You sort of put that there, and then there's a collar. It's 3 pieces here. So sort of grab it, and it's real hard to show you how it works, but you can sort of get the idea. This guy fits inside of these 2. The collar bites onto that. Use this to make sure it doesn't slide apart, and pull this pulley off. I'm probably going to do it right here in the vehicle. You know, again, who wants to work on the floor on a bench? This is basically a bench. So, but if you do want to take it to a bench, like I said, these 3 bolts, line them up with those holes, take this whole unit out of here. I did already move the high pressure line and the feed line here, and that was just a hose clamp. This was just a 15 or 16mm head. The harder 2 lines are down there on the box. And this is a Jeep, so there's no power steering cooler. It's simply pump to box, box to pump. Basically the simplest design there is. This dang radiator hose is right in my way of showing you the bottom 2. They're not even terrible. I probably will cut them and just put a socket on for, you know, ease. But I probably don't have to. Probably if I wanted to change that box or something in that scenario and not change the line, I likely could just save those 2 lines, at least that one. Anyways, back to work. So the bolts and the holes line right up. I just wanted to get that bolt slid out like that, through the hole in the wheel, and yeah, the pump falls right out. There's all 3 bolts there. Pump's in my hand. I did decide to pull it with the pulley. My tool really wouldn't fit that good between there. Now, I remember doing that like that before, but today it did not want to fit. So, bench, makeshift bench. Get this up to about waist level so I can work on it with the pulley tool. tell, guys, get a real comb against bending over. Told you before, I'm getting old. I don't like working on the ground. I don't like working on my back. I'm very picky about the conditions to which I work in nowadays. But I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. So here we are. Those are the tools I'm gonna use to pull that pulley. I grab actually 2 wrenches. I believe it's 13/16 and a 1/2 inch. Yes, American tools, because this is an American friggin' tool. So the metric stuff's a little loose on it. Use the right stuff, guys. You know, most stuff is metric, but you'll strip that thing all to hell, and then the tool gets a bad name because you used the wrong tool. Yeah, that happens a lot. Anyways, this is what those collars and that sleeve and rod and whatnot all come together to be. So, like I was saying, the 2 half moon pieces kind of grab the tool and the pump head, or rather the pulley head. There's a lip, and then you just simply drive that bolt in. It's pressing against the shaft of the pump, and it's pulling the entire pulley off. To reinstall, there's kind of a thread. I'll just show you. It's basically the same thing, but backwards. And here we have the new pump, little black paint, fresh from China, I'm sure. And the old pump, after I got the pulley out of the way, you could see clearly the seal completely took a crap. And there you go, bearings are scattered, all the fluid came out all at once, no warning signs, no squealing belt, nothing. Worked one day. Matter of fact, she was here a couple of days ago, the owner of the vehicle, pulled the catalytic converter cover that was rattling off the car, and here we are a couple of days later. Dead power steering pump, so literally no warning. But older vehicle, really nice shape older vehicle, but when you drive an old vehicle, things are worn out. Anyways, to press back on, you put away the half moon pieces, you put away the little press piece, and you find whichever one of these guys threads in here nicely. That one's too short, so we'll try the next one up. That's probably going to be our guy. Just sort of thread that down in there till it bottoms out. And eventually, set this up like it's supposed to be. With that knurled side facing out. Remember, guys, if you ever have to change this again, that's the piece you've got to grab to. So, if there's any question as to, oh man, what way does that go? That's the way it goes. Part you can grab out. So now there's a little bearing here somewhere that I can put on the shaft. Here it is. And this has threads where we had the little anvil piece before is actually threaded. Thread this down in there. And like I was saying, reverse process. Just simply hold this in position as you twist the big guy down, 13/16, pressing the pump down onto the shaft, making the end of the pulley level with the shaft. I always make them exactly perfectly level, or as close as you possibly get. You don't want any overhang, you don't want any other underhang, because that's going to decide how true the belt rides. So the pump's back together. This is what I was explaining. Try to get that guy basically as level as possible with the pulley. Now, turn our attention to these lines. See, this radiator hose is sort of pesky. There's a lot of metal left to that line, so I'm going to use this tool, obviously off camera, and I'll just show you there's plenty of room with the fan removed and the pump removed to get the head of the tool right on that line, and then as soon as you're through that one, on the one right next to it. 18mm socket on those guys down there, and you'll be able to retain the threads in the steering box a lot better using this method than if you were to fight and struggle and try to get those lines out in one piece, and then maybe it came out sort of at an angle and it took a couple threads with it, and now you're doing a steering box. Now you need an alignment. Now XYZ. Try to avoid XYZ here as much as possible. And this is the way I found that works the best for me. I'm gonna go to cutting lines. So I can new lines are installed. I haven't put the pump back in yet. I wanted to kind of show you guys. They fall right into place. I put them back in the exact reverse order that I took the fittings out. And while I was doing it, I said, geez, I don't remember which line was what. So I cut the first line, I tossed it to the right of me. So when I went to match it up afterwards, I went, okay, this is that one. So that must be the first line I cut. The second one I tossed over there. So, like I said, they fall right into place. My little cutoff tool worked perfect. That's about what you should have to be able to take out with a deep socket. You know, long extensions. Ratchet. Piece of cake. Tighten them back up with a wrench, of course. And they come with new O-rings. This is what the naked fitting looks like. You gotta put an O-ring on there before you put it back together, or else it will leak. And they come with these little bags. Here. Here we are. Pump back in. 3 bolts. You know, lined up through those holes one at a time. Nice and sturdy. Put the O-ring on this line. Put the line in. The other one's just a clamp to the bottom of the pump. And yeah, there's a pump installed. I just gotta throw the belt back on. Of course, toss the fan back in there. Air box back in. Lead out the system. Fingers crossed none of those metal shavings, or not a lot of the metal shavings at least, got into that box. As long as that box is okay, this thing I'll leave in the morning with power steering. One thing I forgot to mention, while the belt's still off the pump, I like to add at least some power steering to the system for 2 reasons. One, if there's any real obvious leaks, they'll present themselves. Well, as long as I don't spill it all over the place using my left hand, I am not that ambidextrous. And for the second reason, you know, these things come pre-primed, you know, with fluid in them or whatnot, but I don't know. I never really trust exactly how good the pre-lubricating process is from the guys over in China rebuilding these things. So I put my own fluid. I turn the pump a few times. Sometimes you see some movement. I kind of overfilled it this time, so you're not going to see any movement probably, but this way I at least know that the pump isn't dry right now. Then when I put the belt on, I start the motor. We're not starting out with a completely dry pump, you know, risking frying another bearing right off the bat. After all, these are aftermarket parts. There we go, all back together. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's kind of like foam. While it's sitting here idling, I like to let it idle till that foam is gone. Actually start it, tap it off, shut it off, let the foam kind of be in there. Basically just don't push the vehicle while it's, you know, foam fluid. It's okay to move it over to the alignment rack. You're not doing alignment or anything like that. You're going to shut it right back off, but you really don't want to drive it up and down the road until that fluid is not foaming. You know, you just risk grenading the new pump, grenading the old worn out box, causing yourself a bunch of headaches just for rushing and trying to get through it. No sense in that. Go wash your hands, have a cigarette if you smoke, make a coffee, whatever. But let that foam go away before you get rid of the vehicle. There you have it, guys. Jeep Cherokee XJ. You know, pending a test drive. That thing's all set. I'm gonna go spin it around the block. I think I have a Ford pickup alignment to do real quick. I'm not gonna bore you with that. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll make an alignment video. I don't know. I really love to get back over to the Civic and get that motor at least on the floor before midnight. It's late here. Sometimes I work after hours. If you notice, the phone doesn't ring after hours. There's nobody around, and I can kind of get a lot more work done than I would have had I been here while the regular business day was going on. I came down after dinner around 7 o'clock. It's now 8:30, and that whole power steering pump job was done in that hour and a half. Leisurely, I was taking my time. I did a video. I showed you guys. I was listening to music. This is the way I prefer to work. Clearly, I think this is the way probably anybody would prefer to work. So fortunately for me, I do have that opportunity. I take full advantage of it every chance I get. So anyways, that probably wraps this video up. Thanks for tuning in. I'm trying to really start this channel. I'm hoping to stay dedicated to it, and you know, more subscribers that I get, the more people that view my content, if it's good for anybody else, the more I'll do it. Yeah, thank you and have a good day.